She is entirely clueless. Once we get her signature on the medical proxy this Friday, we change the locks next week while she is in Seattle. She will be too guilty to kick you out, mother, and we can finally have the whole house to ourselves. I stared at the glowing screen of my phone, completely frozen. My own sister had just sent me a message meant for our mother, detailing a sick, greedy plan to drain my savings and force me out of the home that I had paid for with my own sweat and blood. The sheer cruelty in her words took my breath away. I typed exactly one word in response. Noted. I packed my bags in under 5 minutes, and I vanished into the afternoon. Thank you for watching this video. Before I take you back there, do me one small favor. Take a second to like and subscribe, and tell me in the comments where you are watching from and what time it is where you are. It helps more than you know. My name is Daphne. I am 32 years old, and I work as an art director for a large advertising agency. In my family, I was never the golden child. I was the bank account. For my entire adult life, I had played the role of the reliable, silent provider, the one who fixed the messes, paid the bills, and absorbed the stress so that everyone else could live comfortably. My mother, Lenora, was a master at emotional manipulation, wielding her tears like a weapon whenever she needed something. My younger sister, Maeve, was 29, completely unemployed, and living under the delusion that she was a social media influencer. She treated life like a grand stage where she was the royalty, and I was merely the hired help. Years ago, my mother declared bankruptcy after draining her retirement funds to support one of Maeve's disastrous business ventures. They were absolutely devastated, facing eviction from their rented apartment. I could not stand to see my mother on the street. I stepped in, paying off $20,000 of their accumulated debt. Shortly after, I purchased a beautiful, sprawling home in the suburbs of Portland, Oregon. It had a massive main house and a smaller, attached in-law suite in the back. Because I wanted them to be comfortable, I gave them the luxurious main house with the large kitchen and the garden, while I moved myself into the cramped in-law suite. I paid the mortgage. I paid the utility bills. I bought the groceries. I genuinely believed that my sacrifice was building a strong, united family. But little did they know, I was not building a sanctuary. I was building a trap, and I was the prey. It was a quiet Tuesday afternoon. I was sitting at the small desk in my suite, reviewing some design portfolios for work. My phone vibrated on the table. When I saw Maeve's name flash across the screen, I smiled instinctively. I assumed she was asking what I planned to buy for dinner, or perhaps sending me a link to some expensive skincare product she expected me to purchase for her. Instead, I opened a message that was never meant for my eyes. It was a massive, rambling paragraph of profound venom. I cannot stand looking at her, the text began. She is so boring and obsessed with her work. She dresses like an old woman and controls the grocery money like a tyrant. Just act sick this weekend, Mom. Cough a lot. Tell her you need her to sign the emergency medical power of attorney so I can help manage your care while she travels. Once we get her signature on Friday, we change the locks next week while she is in Seattle. She will be too guilty to kick you out, mother, and we can finally have the whole house to ourselves. We will just tell her she has to rent an apartment downtown. She makes enough money, she will survive. I am so sick of her living in the back like a watchdog. I read the words 3 times. The blood drained completely from my face, leaving me utterly cold. The mask had slipped, and it shattered completely on the floor, revealing the hideous truth beneath. For 4 years, I had compromised my youth, my dating life, and my financial freedom for 2 women who viewed me as nothing more than an obstacle in my own home. They did not love me. They did not even respect me. They were predators, circling a wounded animal, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. As an art director, my entire career is built on noticing the subtle details that other people miss. I see the hidden lines, the structural flaws, the exact moment a picture falls out of balance. At that moment, the picture of my family fell completely out of balance. I did not cry. I did not scream. A profound, icy calmness washed over my entire body. I picked up my phone and replied with a single word. Noted. I immediately opened my banking application. We had a joint account that I funded every month for their household expenses. It had exactly $20,000 in it, money I had saved for a new roof. With 3 swift taps, I transferred the entire balance into my private, individual account. Then, I pulled a large canvas bag from my closet. I moved with absolute precision. I packed my clothes, my laptop, my passport, and most importantly, a heavy folder containing the original purchase documents for the property. I packed it all in under 5 minutes. I walked out to my car, started the engine, and drove away without looking back. I rented an extended stay hotel room 30 miles away, paid in cash, and turned off the location tracking on my devices. When I finally turned my phone back on later that evening, the notifications exploded. There were 47 missed calls and dozens of frantic text messages. The sheer panic in their voices was palpable through the screen. "Daphne, what are you doing? Where did the money go? Call me back right now." Maeve texted, her tone blunt and demanding. It was just an autocorrect mistake. I was using voice to text. It completely messed up what I was saying. "You are acting crazy." Then came the messages from my mother. "Daphne, honey, please. You are my daughter. How can you abandon your own mother over a stupid joke? You are being so selfish. Come home right now so we can talk about this." I stared at the pathetic attempts at gaslighting. They thought I was foolish enough to believe that a highly specific, multi-step plan to commit real estate fraud was a joke. I typed my final response to them. "It was not a joke, Mother. It was a strategy. And now I have mine. Do not contact me again." I blocked both of their numbers. The silence that followed was immense and deeply satisfying. I spent the next 2 days working remotely from my hotel room, gathering my strength and preparing for the war I knew was coming. Because little did they know, they had picked a fight with someone who held every single advantage. They thought they held all the cards, but they did not realize I owned the entire casino. On Thursday morning, I walked into the downtown office of a man named Richard Vance. Mr. Vance was a ruthless, highly respected real estate attorney. I sat across from his heavy oak desk and handed him the folder containing my property records, alongside a printed screenshot of Maeve's text message. He adjusted his glasses, read the message in complete silence, and then looked up at me. "They want to forge a medical proxy to establish tenancy rights and lock you out of your primary residence," Mr. Vance stated, his voice completely flat. "That is fraudulent intent. The good news for you, Daphne, is that your name is the only name on the warranty deed. There is no lease agreement. They are legally classified as month-to-month tenants at will. Do you want them removed?" "I want them completely eradicated from my property," I replied, my voice as cold as ice. "Then we serve them with a formal 30-day notice to vacate," he said, drafting the paperwork immediately. "If they do not leave the premises by the 31st day, we file an unlawful detainer lawsuit, and the county sheriff will physically remove them from the property." While Mr. Vance prepared the legal strike, Maeve and Lenora initiated their smear campaign. By Friday, my phone started ringing with calls from extended family members. Maeve had taken to social media, posting lengthy, dramatic statuses claiming that I had suffered a mental breakdown, stolen my mother's life savings, and abandoned them to starve. She painted herself as the devoted daughter trying to hold the family together while the evil, corporate sister ruined their lives. My Aunt Josephine, my mother's older sister, called me. Josephine was a retired nurse, a sharp, observant woman who had always seen through Lenora's constant victimhood. "Daphne, your mother is calling everyone in the family," weeping hysterically, Aunt Josephine said gently. "She says you stole $20,000 from her and vanished. I know you better than that. Tell me what actually happened." I did not offer a lengthy explanation. I simply emailed Aunt Josephine the screenshot of Maeve's text message, along with the bank statements proving that the $20,000 was entirely my own money, deposited from my own payroll. I also included the receipts showing that I had paid off their previous bankruptcy debts 4 years ago. Aunt Josephine called me back 5 minutes later. "Oh, my dear God," she whispered, absolutely horrified. "They're monsters. You come stay at my house tonight. You do not belong in a hotel." With Aunt Josephine in my corner, the family dynamics shifted violently. I compiled a massive email containing the undeniable evidence, the screenshot of the plot to lock me out, the financial statements, and the deed to the house proving I was the sole owner. I sent it to every single aunt, uncle, and cousin who had dared to comment on Maeve's social media posts. I included a short, precise message, attached as the truth about why I left. Any further questions regarding my mother and sister can be directed to the county sheriff's department, who will be handling their eviction. The royal empire crumbled overnight. The family group chats went completely silent. Several relatives publicly apologized to me and immediately blocked Maeve. The facade was entirely destroyed, and they were exposed to the bright, unforgiving light of reality. On Monday morning, a deputy from the county sheriff's department walked up the driveway of my beautiful suburban home. He knocked heavily on the front door. When Maeve opened it, looking disheveled and arrogant, the deputy handed her a thick legal envelope. It was the formal 30-day eviction notice, signed by a federal judge, accompanied by a cease and desist order regarding their slanderous posts online. I was not there to see it, but Mr. Vance informed me that Maeve threw an absolute tantrum on the front lawn, screaming at the deputy until he threatened to arrest her for disturbing the peace. They tried to fight it, of course. They tried to claim squatters' rights. They tried to argue that because they had lived there for 4 years, they were entitled to half the equity. Mr. Vance completely destroyed their arguments in civil court. He presented their plot to fraudulently secure a power of attorney, which caused the presiding judge to issue a stern warning about potential criminal charges for conspiracy to commit fraud. They were ordered to vacate the premises by the end of the month, or they would face immediate arrest. With their reputations completely shattered and their financial supply entirely severed, the reality of their situation finally set in. None of our relatives would take them in. Aunt Josephine explicitly told Lenora that she would not allow such toxic behavior under her roof. Maeve, who had spent 4 years pretending to be wealthy on the internet, suddenly discovered that her terrible credit score and lack of employment history made it impossible to rent a decent apartment. On the 30th day, I sat in my car parked 2 blocks away, watching as a cheap moving truck pulled out of my driveway. They had packed their belongings into black garbage bags. I watched the 2 women who had planned to ruin my life drive away into obscurity. I did not feel sad. I did not feel guilty. I felt an immense, staggering weight lift off my shoulders. I immediately hired a contractor to repair the minor damages they had caused, repainted the interior, and listed the property on the market. Because the housing market had skyrocketed in the 4 years since I bought it, the house sold in less than a week for an absolutely massive profit. I walked away with $250,000 in pure equity. It has been 6 months since I received that accidental text message. I am sitting on the balcony of my new, luxury condominium in the heart of the city. The security is incredibly strict, and the view of the skyline is breathtaking. I received a promotion at my agency, and my life is entirely peaceful. I heard through Aunt Josephine that my mother and sister are currently living in a cramped, 1-room studio apartment in a terrible neighborhood. Because I am no longer funding her extravagant lifestyle, Maeve was forced to take a minimum wage job at a local diner just to keep the lights on. They constantly fight about money, blaming each other for losing the luxurious life they once had for free. They're absolutely miserable, trapped in a cage of their own making. Sometimes, the people who are supposed to protect you are the ones holding the knife to your back. Blood makes you related, but loyalty makes you family. And I am finally putting my loyalty where it belongs, entirely with myself. I have built a life of profound peace and financial security, a life that none of their manipulation can ever touch. I have my dignity, my home, and my freedom, and that is something their greed can never buy. Thank you so much for listening to my story. Have you ever had to walk away from a toxic family member to save yourself from being destroyed? Please share your thoughts and your own experiences in the comments below. Do not forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more stories just like this one. Stay strong, everyone, and never let anyone make you feel guilty for protecting your own peace.